Welcome back to another episode of Sibling Showdown, the best ball edition, and of course, the live draft edition. We have been going through the different sites on Underdog, DraftKings, Drafters, kind of rotating through, doing different drafts. Last week we did Drafters. If you didn't check it out, be sure to check that out before we did DraftKings. So this week we're going to do an Underdog BBM4. I'm Meg. You can find me at Megs08DFS. And I'm, of course, joined by my brother, Steve. You can follow him at SteveOSpeak on Twitter. Steve, how are you doing today? You ready to get back in the BBM4 streets?
Doing good. Yeah. Definitely getting excited now that camp's opening.
Yeah.
Really seeing what that's doing to some of these values and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Before we get in a draft, be sure to this episode, subscribe to the FanSpeak Network, and check out all our articles on FanSpeak. We're doing multiple articles a week, strategy articles covering different angles. I did a bunch this last week about, each month I'm looking at my favorite, got players in each round, sleepers, fades. Steve's been doing good deep dives recently on kind of players that should outperform their ADPs, players that could underperform their ADPs. They're the ones you want to avoid. So we're going to be doing strategy articles each and every week. Be sure to check them out on fanspeak.com. And of course, subscribe here because we're doing live drafts and probably some more strategy shows here on the FanSpeak Network. So with that, Steve, let's pull up Underdog and let me see. Yeah, I got that up. Let's see. Let me go and let's get in a BBM4. So it's filling now, waiting on 4. If you are new to Underdog Fantasy, be sure to use code FANSPEAK. You get 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So deposit 100, you'll have $200 to use in drafts. BBM4, the flagship tournament, that's a top prize of up $3 million. It's a $25 entry, but they have different price points too. So be sure to use code FANSPEAK if you are new to Underdog. Steve, in the Underdog streets, anything you're seeing, anything you've been seeing lately as we're waiting for the draft to fill, ADP-wise or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still, in the situation where receivers are being overdrafted early. And that's letting running back values fall into, that 4th through 6th, 7th round pretty nicely. I think that's still interesting. Maybe that begins to change as camp gets along. But, I think there's obviously been the Tony news was the biggest thing.
Right.
So we're seeing like him falling and like Sky Moore and the other Chiefs receivers getting a little bit of a bump. But so far, not much else major.
Okay, so I am at the 13 turn at the end of the draft. Actually, I don't love that. I love obviously being in the top 5 to get one of the 5 elites that are my favorite. Obviously, that usually goes Jefferson, Chase, some combination then of Kupp, Hill, McCaffrey, in any order there between the next 3. Usually love to get the top 5 is my absolute favorite, but I actually don't mind being at the back end of the draft. And here's one reason why. I need more Nick Chubb. And one way to get, if somebody else doesn't take him in the first round, you can get Nick Chubb with, call it your first or second round pick, your 12th or 13th pick. That's where he's kind of going now. He's starting to settle in there where usually the person at the back half of the draft is taking him. So if you have any other pick, maybe if you have the 11th or 10th spot, maybe he falls to you, but he's not falling farther than that, which is, in my opinion, and I know your opinion too, the correct move, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just look at it and Nick Chubb, he is RB1 potential.
He has absolute RB1 potential,
and,
yeah.
Up until Deshaun Watson took over last year, he was playing really well. And then the team just, it was a new quarterback who hadn't really practiced with them. They were just very inefficient down the stretch. And, of course, now Kareem Hunt being gone, even if Jerome Ford takes 80% of that role, even if it only lose 20% of Hunt's role for Chubb,
right,
that's a big bump for him. So
right.
There's just so many ways that he could end up as QB1. Just a few more touchdowns,
yeah,
a few more catches, and boom, he's there.
Yeah, and something I looked at in one of my strategy articles that's up on fanspeak.com is offenses that could just grow this year. And, another year in the system for Deshaun Watson. Obviously, there's other, I think, positive things for the Browns to potentially strengthen the schedule, to potentially have an even more dynamic, powerful offense. But they were pretty high in red zone opportunities, but lower in conversions. If they can get those conversions up, guess who will be the one converting them, hopefully.
Exactly.
So let's hope that Nick Chubb is not drafted by the first 11. And if so, I am going ahead and saying, I don't care if I use it with the 12 or 13, Nick Chubb is going to be a pick. I queued up receivers that I just think will be there. Who's your favorite receiver in that range? We don't know who's going to be there, but let's talk it through 5 picks away. We know what we want to do with one of the picks. Hopefully, again, Chubb is there. Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams. I love them all for different reasons. Who is your favorite of those?
Devontae Adams easily. I mean, he's again a guy who could be wide receiver 1 if everything breaks well. Don't love the quarterback play compared to other top guys, but I just think he's just so good, so talented, can have such a touchdown role.
Yeah. I will say, okay, if Amon-Ra was there, I was going to say I've just been going through my exposures. I'm going to go ahead and just grab Nick Chubb here. And then I'll talk through and I'll go ahead and grab Devontae too. One thing I will say is sometimes at this point, as you get to almost August, you start looking at your exposures if you've been drafting since late April, early May, and you just want to, smooth them out and get them the way you want, right? And Nick Chubb's one I want more of. So, of course, when I'm in this spot, I'm taking Nick Chubb. Devontae Adams is one that I've been on this whole time. So I have a good bit of exposure to Devontae Adams. I will say I need both more Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra. So even though I do have Devontae Adams ranked higher, and I agree with you. I think he's being absolutely undervalued this year. I think people are just having or I'll put up the board as we're talking. I think people are just kind of grossed out by Jimmy as his quarterback or something. And I think that's wrong. I mean, he was the wide receiver 3 last year, and easily think he could finish that as well. And he's, being drafted as the wide receiver 7 or 8, somewhere in that give or take range. And so I think that's, he's being disrespected by the market, and I like grabbing as much of him. With that said, at this point of the year, when you're trying to smooth out your exposures, I do think, there are only certain spots where you can get Amon-Ra or Garrett Wilson, so those guys. And so because I already smartly, in my opinion, have been high on Devontae Adams, having a decent amount of exposure to him. If Amon-Ra was still there, I took Garrett Wilson in an earlier draft today, so I'm building him up too. But if Amon-Ra was still there, I was going to consider that. I'm very bullish on the Lions. I know you are as well. I was going to take that just to kind of, again, help bump up that exposure, because there are certain guys that just you almost have to thread the needle as to there's only a certain range they'll go in, and kind of Amon-Ra is one of them. Let's see, Garrett Wilson did go later in this draft at pick 17. So, but again, very happy with our Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams start. That was my only point about exposures. And if you are looking at your exposures, it's good to look at them at this point, probably each week, if you're doing a lot of drafts, and decide how you want, where you want to end up in your portfolio. And, sometimes you may have a guy ranked higher, but you may want to get a little more exposure to a guy. So I just want to make that point. So coming around, we'll obviously have a big break here. We'll be back up around picks 36, 37. Just knowing the board, I'll let the board sit here for another minute. But knowing the board, if a Najee is there, I'd be interested in somebody like him as a second running back, just because sometimes he falls to the back end of the 3rd round, early 4th round. So I wouldn't mind something like that. And then, so probably one running back, one receiver, depending on who's there. We just kind of hit the 2-3 turn. Sometimes, quarterbacks elites fall in Underdog, but both Josh Allen and Mahomes went in the 2nd round there. So Jalen Hurts went 3rd. So I guess now let me go back over to our board and we can start queuing. So since all the elites are gone, I did say, I don't think there's any way. I assume is Mark Andrews off the board yet? not yet. I mean, I would say if by some miracle Mark Andrews and Lamar were there, I don't have like that's such a hard stack to get. That would be something I would do. But I highly doubt that. I'll kind of cue that. I do need to up my Lamar exposure. That's something I realized today too. But so we queued those two, but who else do you like in the running back range that could potentially still be there in the 30s? I mean, if Breece Hall falls with the news, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd take Hall. Well, good, he just went. Just because I do think it's a legitimate risk if Cook does sign there like that.
I'm not as worried. I just still think he's going to be the. I don't know. I think they're kind of protecting the beginning of the season. Do you really worry he's going to eat in a lot?
I mean, Dalvin Cook just has a ton of experience. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Hall could still end up as RB1 there, but if that's becomes a 2-man backfield, it just limits his upside. Like, he then has no way of being like a top 10 running back at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you get the lucky situation where he just has a monster week 17. But
I mean, I just think he's so explosive, and hopefully comes back from injury so explosive. Let's start talking about. Oh, damn! Ridley is going higher with all like the camp, videos and stuff like that. I've been getting a ton of Ridley, but I have him more on DraftKings than Underdogs. I want to get my Ridley exposure up, and of course he went. So Najee is still there. Mark Andrews was taken. So yeah, I mean, again, the Mark Andrews, Lamar stack's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
So we could do like a Najee Lamar, because I mean, the receivers here I like, but I'm not in love with. And then you're reaching, I love the 4th round receivers, which again, we're going to be at the very, very end of the 4th round. So don't know who will be left, but okay. Lamar just went. So, right now, with one pick away, I have Najee, and I don't like reaching on any of the other running backs here. So Najee would be it for me. Hopefully he's there. What else would you? Okay, so Debo Samuel just went. So
I like Judy.
Yeah, I don't have much Judy. I could set up for a potential Russ stack too. So I'm going to grab Najee. Let me just make sure there's. Yeah, just this is a weird spot, being at the back half here. We obviously queued up a lot of guys we liked and they went. Like I obviously much would have preferred Ridley or Debo Samuel, Lamar, I think in that range, but they all went before, which isn't shocking. So we're starting the draft at 2-2, which is nice, to start Chubb, Najee, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy. So we'll be up again at 60 and 61. That's the tough thing with being at either side. Obviously, at the one spot, you really can, have access to the elites, but you do have a long wait. So the hard thing is the 4th round. I love the receivers, but a lot of them are probably going to be gone by then. Or excuse me, we just hit the 4th round. So we were in the early 4th round. I typically like the mid 4th round where I hit the receivers that you see right now, like London, McLaurin, Mike Williams are my 3 favorite. So anyways, that's right. We'll be coming into the 5th round. So at around pick 60, God, that's a range of receivers I don't love. I mean, I doubt a guy like Kenneth Walker would still be there, but who else? I'll just swing it to you. Who else would you queue up at this point? I mean, I do think this is almost like a double hero QB build or running back build. So I do think we should cap the brakes on running back unless there's like an extreme value fall. Problem is I mean, I highly doubt like guys like London and McLaurin are still going to be there. So, yeah, who do you want to queue up?
Well, I mean, unlikely, but if Deontay's there, I think that's a no-brainer pick. Can you scroll down? Yeah, I mean, then it's
like Lockett's not a big reach. If hopefully he would be there, maybe. So, yeah, I typically, if I don't get Kelsey, don't really do like elite tight ends. Every now and then in this 5th, 6th round, I'll take Kittle. Like if Hawkinson was still there and fell, I guess you could make a case for it because then you could. I don't have a lot of them, and you could stack with Kirk. But I don't know if you have any kind of strong takes. It's hard. I'm almost pouting because a lot of the guys that I love are, going to be gone or gone, just because this is a tough range. I mean, I am very happy. At least the back end of the first round, you get that access to Nick Chubb. I do like that. And a receiver you really like in Devontae Adams. But then from there, the picks get a little thinner for me. So that's what's tough. So yeah, again, I do think we should probably address receiver because then when it comes back around to us, it'll be picks 84, 85. Now in that range, I do like a Brandon Cooks, something like that. But anyways, any other thoughts? I'm going to cue Hawkins just in case he's there.
Yeah, I mean, we could see if a running back slides. Though, I don't think that's the greatest efficient order. Like I like Sanders and Akers above Madison, and Dobbins and Jones. So but still, it's a situation when you're at the back and you've no shot at, if we don't take a Sanders, he's not coming back to the 80s, obviously. So
no, I guess the problem is like I'm fine. Like I don't know if he'd fall, but like a David Montgomery, Javonte Williams. I mean, reports about Javonte Williams are good. Like I'm totally fine with one of them as our RB3. So that's why just knowing where we're hitting. So we're up in 5 picks. I queued Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett. So neither of that would conflict with our receiver buys, which is good. I mean, I will say if Hawkinson falls, that's interesting. Again, I don't do, and I know you don't either. I don't do a lot of the non-Kelsey elite tight ends. Like I usually do 3 tight ends late. But to me, that's just a value play. Okay, someone took it because that's just a value. Like if he got 51, some of the ADPs aren't efficient, but like Hawkinson at 51 is a more efficient ADP in my opinion. So if he falls to pick 60, then that's a value. So we'll get at least one of Lockett or Evans. We're up in 1. Who do you like better? I mean, I like Lockett better, but I do like Evans. We could take both. Yeah. I mean, they both week 5. That's the only bummer about that. But I mean, we'll take 7 receivers. So, because I just don't feel like really, I mean, I do like I have some Dobbins. I know there's some stuff going on right now. Well, I'm just going to take Lockett as we're talking about it. I do like all of Dobbins, Sanders, Akers, Pierce, but I also really like, so I guess it's a matter of one of them or Evans. And then I'd probably rather Evans and then like a David Montgomery, that range.
Yeah, go Evans.
Okay. So again, and I always want to, we're only through 6, but definitely get 4 by ideally round 7, 5 by round 9 or 10. And we have 4 receivers through round 6. So we have 2 4 build already: Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans. As far as like guys to stack with right now, like, we had kind of queued up Lamar. I want to get more access to Herbert, but just where we were going, we really couldn't get Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, so we couldn't really do that. Looking at the quarterbacks just to like forward think, like a lot of the, guys like Tua, I want more Tua, but I really don't like doing it as much unless I have Hill or Waddle. You could do Deshaun for like correlation, like almost that negative positive correlation with Chubb, but I don't think that needs to be forced either. Just something we're just forward thinking about, about the receipt or quarterback position. I mean, we can certainly, bulk up the running back receiver position more and wait to the like hundreds and see, what we got, especially like if we were able to get like a Brandon Cooks or something like that. I do have a lot of Dak Prescott, but I'll never be shy about taking more. So again, I've queued up David Montgomery, James Conner, and Javonte Williams as running backs. Brandon Cooks. Who else receiver-wise do you want to just queue up? Again, keep in mind our picks will be at 84 and 85.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance like a Pickens or a Dotson would fall.
Yeah.
Addison as well. That could also open up a Cousins stack.
Right.
sometimes one of those guys fall to the back end here.
Right. Yeah, especially as one of those guys as your fifth receiver is really nice. So I mean, ideally, I don't know, because we don't have like any like ideal quarterback stack set up right now. I would say I'd be passing on like Deshaun and Tua here. Obviously, we have no interest in Anthony Richardson, who's going later now. Anyways, but I'd say we just focus on probably one receiver, one running back if it falls right.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're up in 12. I'll bring up the board. Any training camp news as we're waiting that is really like sticking out to you? I know with training camp news, whether it's like the videos that are in slow motion that the team puts out or, the beat reporters, whatever, you have to put everything with context. So always keep that in mind. I know I'm trying to be very careful because I was not very careful last August about training camp news. I'd hear training camp news and I just then go run and try to get that player. And that's not how you try to definitely put context behind every piece of news that you're getting. But is there any training camp news that really sticks out to you as like signal, not noise, as true signal?
I mean, I think one of the best might be some guy that I know you and I both love is Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
How he's involved in the offense and just clear path to being the starter and highly involved.
We've been on him since he was in pick 200. Now he's like pick 160 or something like that. So yeah. And I think he's going to keep going up because I think he's clearly the tight end one for sure.
So, I mean, a lot of it right now is pretty thin and, people overreacting to whether this guy was on PUP or not. And it's
right. Like, the overreaction to PUP is ridiculous.
That's like a minor thing. Like even like all the Javonte Williams, like, I mean, he's gone up like 20 spots and it's like, yeah, he didn't get the PUP list, but that doesn't mean he's
They are saying he's looking good in practice. So I'm personally high on Javonte.
It's just we saw every running back last year coming off a major injury struggle. And we saw receivers like Michael Gallup, Godwin, not play as well.
Godwin still had a good season overall.
He did, but I mean, he was definitely down relative to his previous years.
Oh, gotcha.
So, he was actually the most surprising.
Because Gallup definitely struggled. And then who were the other ones coming back from injury last year? Dobbins and who were the other ones?
Akers and
Akers definitely ramped it up at the end of the season too.
Yeah, but like when we're taking a guy this high, like it's great if he's the playoff running back, but if we're not in the playoffs, what does that matter? If you're spending this high.
I agree. I just think it's not like he's our second pick or something. Like if as your RB3, I'm fine with it. So I definitely like Javonte here in the 80s because I think he could get up into the 70s, the 60s, that kind of stuff. And again, as my RB3, I'm more than fine with that. So anyways, you can see how the board played out. Jahan Dotson and Pickens did go. Then Swift, Brandon Cooks unfortunately went. That's the one I'm really bummed about. Elijah Moore, Traylon Burks. So we're just left with Javonte and James Williams right now. Are there any other? I like Bateman. It's not that big of a reach. And Sutton.
We already have Judy, though. I don't know if you want to double stack them.
I don't mind double stack. We can get Russ. So.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Javonte. Because I am high on him. So I'd like the bye week's workout. I like him over Connor. And I accidentally queued Michael Thomas. I do not like him. And then do you want Bateman or I actually who do you have ranked higher, Bateman or Sutton?
I have Bateman because I think he can be wide receiver 1 on that team, where Sutton I think is maxed as behind Judy.
Okay. So you really believe that he in the receiving room, you like him as well. I have them ranked that I have Bateman, Odell, then Flowers.
Yeah.
Is that how you have it ranked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. And I just think that, obviously he hasn't had a ton of time with Lamar, but he has had time with Lamar compared to Odell and Flowers. So he's more familiar with, him and Lamar are probably more on the same page. And, they have flashed some when they have their limited times playing together.
Yeah. Are you worried about him coming back from injury?
No, because it's not. I mean, one, he got injured pretty early in the year, and I just think that he just has like this extreme upside in that offense with all their talk about them throwing the ball more and being more aggressive. And we know that's actually what Lamar wants. As much as people think that it benefits Mark Andrews, it probably benefits a receiver the most.
Yeah, I agree.
Lamar is at his best when he's throwing vertical, attacking deep. People forget 2 years ago with Marquise Brown, through the first 9 weeks before Lamar was out for COVID, then Marquise Brown was out for a week, and then of course Lamar gets hurt. Through the first 9 weeks of the season, Marquise Brown was like wide receiver 8 in the league. He was just tearing it up, and then those things happen, and he ends up as like wide receiver 20 because once Tyler Huntley came in, he didn't look his way, or at least vertically. So I just think that Bateman has that ability to be that true X receiver for him.
Yeah. I wanted to point out that David Montgomery went 74. He's someone that you and I have both liked. I liked him, when he was in the 90s, and he's definitely gone up a lot. I think, especially on Underdog, it makes a lot of sense why he's gone up.
Yeah. I mean, just the touchdown, even if, he's not going to get Jamal Williams 17 touchdowns, but if he gets 9 of those, 10 of those, he's a chance for 1,000 yards. He's going to catch the ball, probably even more than Jamal Williams, even with the rookie there, Gibbs. I just think he's going to be highly involved. This is one of the top offenses in the league. Could even get better. I just think there's a lot of upside there.
All right, we need to start thinking through quarterbacks. I realize, as much as I would have liked to stack Sutton, we have Javonte and Judy. I do think it makes sense to target Russ, not next, but I'm just starting to think about it. Just during this, again, we still have 10 pick break. We have Lockett. We could target Geno. I'm super bullish on the Lions and Goff. You can easily backstack Goff.
Oh, that's the same week as Russ.
Oh shit, that's right. Thanks. So you don't ever do where you do, like, if you do a 3 quarterback build, you don't ever do like 2 of the same and then just one. And ideally you don't.
Yeah, and not if it's like my top 2 guys.
Yeah. Like if it's like the third guy, I guess that makes sense. Excuse me. So I targeted. So who else do we have here? Obviously, there are other quarterbacks. Would either be really late, like a Jimmy, or quarterbacks I'm not interested, or quarterbacks that have already gone. You could correlate a guy like Pickett, to.
Could also easily correlate Daniel Jones.
Yeah, you can definitely correlate Daniel Jones. You can also backstack Rodgers too. So, I'm just high on that. Just because we didn't get Wilson or Lazard doesn't mean. Lazard still is there, but I was just saying how I've taken too much Lazard, and I need to pump the brakes on him. But anyways, let's start looking at running backs. This is a good range of running backs at 108, 109. This is a solid range. Dylan's fallen. Don't know if he'll still be there. Brian Robinson, I've noticed, has been falling in drafts. Damian Harris, I just queued up some ones that I like. So let me just move my queues around. I was just queuing up stuff. Okay, so Dylan went right before us. So we're up at 108 and 109. Brian Robinson, Damian Harris, who do you
I'd take Robinson.
Okay, is there any? Okay, so we have a solid core of 4 running backs, 5 receivers. Do we kind of reach for a quarterback in like Daniel Jones here? It's not really.
I like doing that.
Okay, because we can easily backstack that. So,
yeah.
I don't mind that. Okay, so we now have what you and I have talked about a lot. Like if you leave a draft, and this is of course, if you're not getting an elite tight end, if you leave a draft with 1 quarterback, 4 running backs, 5 receivers in the top 10, you're building a very solid foundation for your team. then you could do 3. I mean, especially on DraftKings, even 4 late round tight ends, or you maybe hit 3 in that range of tight ends that are just really solid. Because there's a lot in that like 130 plus range of tight ends that we might want to start looking at next. So, I mean, I have other quarterbacks just to kind of like keep an eye on. But any other, excuse me. Let's look at the board and then see. But yeah, that's just something you and I have talked about. And you kind of agree, like if you're not getting elite tight end, you like building out one quarterback, doesn't matter where you could go Herbert round 5, Lawrence round 6, Dak or Tua in the around like 9-10 range, or Daniel Jones in this case. So, it can be different quarterbacks at different spots, but you kind of agree with that strategy if you don't get an elite quarterback or elite tight end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think both positions have a good second tier or upside plays. Like, a guy like Daniel Jones, even if he doesn't finish top 10 like he did last year, he's still probably going to have a couple spike weeks. So if we're getting him with a Russ, we're getting a third quarterback in there, we can still be fine. And, and same, I mean, Russ, as bad as the Broncos were last year, he had 3 really good weeks, including week 17, which did actually help people win the DK final. So, it's just, we're hoping Sean Payton turns him around, and I'd like him a lot. So yeah, I'd love to see us get Russ here. And then tight end, I think, would make a lot of sense.
Who else do you like? I mean, Dulcich is there. I don't mind 4 from a team. Like Dulcich probably needs some more of them. So I don't, really love Chig at his price. Let's see.
He's overpriced.
Yeah. Sure. So we're up at 132, 133. Kincaid's there. We have a lot of week 13. We have 2 week 13 receivers. So I guess we don't have week 13 tight ends, but I know we both love Dalton Kincaid. We could do Higbee to run back Daniel Jones. So I'm just queuing up some tight ends to keep in mind. I'm not saying we have to hold them or hold to this.
And then I'd just keep an eye on receiver in case somebody falls. That's
I'll tell you what, I don't usually like build this foundation and then get a running back super late, like as an another late, not super late. Actually, I hate like the 17, 18 round, but like more like a 16 round running back, like a Gus Edwards or something like that. But I don't know why Damian Harris has been falling. I did 2 other drafts today and he fell like this. Now I'm sure he'll go in the next 6 picks, but if he's still there, that's like massive value on a team so that's something to keep an eye on too. And that's why we're looking at the board, the guys I have queued. Obviously we'll take Russ here if he's there. Dulcich did go, was interested in him, but Dulcich did just go. So I would rank it. Hopefully we can take Russ, get that second stack. We've already built it out. Again, we can back stack Daniel Jones with guys that we like, but, and then if Damian Harris is there, I say that's just too good a value to pass up. And then we're done at running back. And then if Damian Harris isn't there, I do think we should get a tight end. Okay. Someone smartly grabbed the falling value of Damian Harris, who fell like 12 spots past his ADP. So Rodgers just went, we're up in 2. So do you want to do like Wilson Kincaid, or, I mean, Higbee would be a bit of a reach, so we might even be able to get him next one. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, if it's Wilson Kincaid, I'd take that.
Let me just check the receivers. Oh, Gallup's there, though. I will say I do love Gallup. That's right around ADP. So
yeah, I think I'd still go Wilson Kincaid. I mean, our receivers are strong.
Yeah, I just love exposure to Dallas. So yeah, I'm obsessed with certain teams. I'm obsessed with, and Dallas, Detroit are one of them. Okay, so I'm grabbing Wilson. We have a nice Russell Wilson stack, and you want to go ahead and grab Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking massive upside.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about him while we're.
Again, there's all this talk that he could have the slot role that Cole Beasley had in 2020 and 2021, which, he had over 100 well over 100 targets, and I think had 100 catches one of those years. And he just didn't have a lot of touchdowns because he's 5'8" Cole Beasley. But
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid can definitely get there. I mean, this is Josh Allen has thrown like I think it's 35, 36, 37 touchdowns over the last 3 years. I can't remember which one's which, but that's massive. I mean, I think only Mahomes is over 35 plus over those 3 years as well. So, it's just a major role. They get a ton of yards, ton of points, and sure, he's a rookie, and his role is a little less defined than others because he's not a traditional tight end like Dawson Knox. But they spent a first-round pick on him. I think they're going to utilize him. After Stephon Diggs, there's nobody who's firmly established in that offense, either running back. Their second wide receiver, Gabe Davis, is good, but not, like elite. Mm-hmm. Their other receivers are not, over the top, like that we think they're going to break out. And, Dawson Knox, again, good tight end, but not elite. This is not Kelsey. This is not Andrews. So, yeah, I just think there's such upside for that role.
Yeah.
And, if he ends up, 800 yards and 8-10 touchdowns. I mean, he's in the top 5. That's like what Hawkinson did last year. So
yeah. Wait, what did Hawkinson end up? Actually, I have the stats put up. What did Hawkinson end up last year?
I can't remember exact numbers, but it was probably around.
He had 914 yards and 6
touchdowns.
Oh, 6? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So it's like.
Am I looking at he only had 6 touchdowns?
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah,
I guess I just saw as a little bit more than that. A little closer to 10. I thought it was like 8.
He had tremendous target.
He had a good target share with the Vikings, yeah. I was going to say, why did my queue still say 22 picks away? I know I'm not 22 picks away. Okay, so 12 picks away. I had some late round quarterbacks queued up, but we got to focus on. So we are at a 2, 4, 5, 1. Really just need one more running back. Hit some receivers. I definitely, later can queue up. I don't know if we're coming in the range of. So where will we be picking? Let's pull up the board again. So we will be picking at 156, 157, and then in the 180s. So let me look at receiver first. This is not an area of receiver that I love. I think we have enough. I'm a big Tim Patrick girl, but I think we have enough. I don't know if you think that that's a reach for Hodgins. Yeah, probably at 156. He might fall, I guess, so we could queue him up for later. This is not an area of receiver I particularly love. So I think we should look at running backs and tight ends too. I know we both like Gainwell. Let's look at tight ends. Maybe we can just hammer that position. My favorite guy, Laporta, is there. So I queued up Irv Smith, Laporta. Did Everett go already?
Yeah.
Because he would have been a great run back. Damn, I was hoping he'd be there because he would have been a great Week 17 run back to Denver, plays the Chargers, and not just forcing a Week 17 running back. That talked about teams I'm obsessed with. Probably the 3 teams I'm most obsessed with. Yes, I love my Washington Commanders, but probably Chargers, Dallas, and Lions are the 3 teams that I'm just constantly trying to get access to. How about you? What would be your 3 favorite teams, would you say? That you're like trying to like just get access to.
Yeah, probably
early, mid, late, doesn't matter.
Probably Chargers, Jaguars, and
you like Dallas too, right?
Yeah, no, I like Dallas might be 3rd. I mean, I definitely love the Bills because I just think there's some real values there with like the running backs, Gabe Davis and Kincaid.
Yeah. You're getting access to a top offense slate. So you'd say Chargers, Jaguars, Bills?
Yeah, and then Dallas, Detroit would probably be the 2 after that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on the Bills, Jaguars thing. I'd say my top are Chargers, Chargers, Dallas, Detroit. And then, love Baltimore, love Miami. I mean, a lot of these are teams too Denver, obviously. All these teams are too that I like have really looked at the playoff schedules, what their week 15 through 17 looks like. And it's nice. Okay, so I think it's a little early for Hodgins. What do you think about like Gainwell, Be Done, and Laporta? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say if Carr's there, you could just get the third quarterback and like I don't know if Shahid's still there. Looks like he is. So you could do something like that. Just like get a third. Like
I'd rather we've spent a decent amount of. I'm fine with like honestly like a Pickett or Garoppolo.
okay,
So
uh,
I'd rather be done with the. Are you okay with this?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Gainwell, no bye weeks intersected with our 5 running backs. Beautiful. Laporta does not. So we might be going with what Steve and I are famous for, which is I had queued up Shahid, by the way, but I'm sure he'll be gone by our next pick because we'll be back up at 180, 181, but we'll keep an eye on Shahid. Isaiah Hodgins, obviously with Daniel Jones, we'll queue up Slayton too. I queued up Pickett and Garoppolo for later just because we have some correlation already built in, and I don't mind them as a third. We can't do Garoppolo because Daniel Jones. I mean, like you said, you could as like the third guy, but it's not ideal. So, anyways, all right. So 180 range. Trying to see Slayton's later. So he's like 200, so we might be able to get him with the next set of picks. Unless
Probably
you wanted,
not at that point.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say unless you wanted to just grab it. So okay, sorry. Yeah, and I guess there is a chance Pickett could be gone, but probably honestly, I mean we're still so far away. But if Kenny Pickett was still there, I'd say like Pickett and a Giants receiver would probably be my favorite targets. We're done at running back. I'm fine with like a late round flyer tight end. We need 3 more receivers we like, and I want to get one Giants receiver because I like both slot. I know you and I both are in the same camp with the Giants receiver. There's like 500 slot receivers, and then there's Hodgins and Slayton that are going to work the outside. While we have a little break, why don't you talk about Hodgins, Slayton, because I know both of us are high on them and not so much the slot guys.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it boils down to. I mean, the camp reports are that it's Slayton, Hodgins on the outside, Paris Campbell in the slot. Paris Campbell can play a little on the outside as well. So it's unclear if he would knock out like Hodgins or Slayton in 2 wide receiver sets, or if they'll go with Slayton and Hodgins. I think either way, those are the 3 guys who have any chance of being fantasy relevant this year. All the other guys just are absolute dart throw flyers, only going to have value if there's multiple injuries in front of them.
Would you say Paris Campbell is like the one slot guy that probably has the chance at a decent slot role?
Yeah. But I personally like Slayton the most just because I think he is the combo of Hodgins is a little bigger, but Slayton has good size, but he's also got deep speed. And Daniel Jones, the one thing he's always been able to do is throw a deep ball. They didn't do it a ton last year, some because of their young offensive line, but theoretically that should be better with Evan Neal more established, right. Andrew Thomas, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think in general it could open up more with like Waller kind of taking safety pressure. So Slayton could get some one-on-ones on the outside, which I do think is an interesting thing from a spike week potential.
Yeah, got it. All right, so again, we are coming up at 180, 181. We're 9 picks away. I actually like Hodgins a little better on Underdog just because I think he could be a great red zone threat. He's got the size. He seemed to be at the end of last year. So I like a little more on Underdog, but I like Slayton a lot too. So like if he is actually still there, which would also be a fall because I probably have him ranked higher than 173. If he happened to still be there at 180, he's not. Someone just took him. So now the question is, do we reach for Slayton? Rashid Shaheed has fallen as well. Now, to your point earlier, Carr is gone, but we could take both receivers and then grab a third like a Ritter, in the last grouping essentially because kind of grouping here and then all the way back at the very end of the draft. Or, well, we'll have the early picks of late round 17, early round 18. So just something to keep ahead, because I mean, in a later QB build, I do prefer three QBs. I queued up Howe because there is some correlation with Robinson, Garoppolo because he correlated with Devontae, and you could get Michael Mayer, but that would obviously, have some intersecting bye weeks. So coming up in 5, it depends if Shaheed's still there. I'm fine reaching for Slayton because I have him way higher than 203. So
yeah.
Okay, so Shaheed is gone. We're going to take Slayton early. I'm more than fine with that. Do you want to grab like a Sam Howell and just have it locked in, and then we just go to late? Because I know you and I both love a lot of late round receivers that have a lot of upside. We could do that, or we could backstack with like a Ritter or Garoppolo. Which one do you prefer?
I
think that's kind of what it boiled this down to.
Yeah, I'd go with Hal.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do Slayton and Hal. That's easy. And then, what's easier is once we get that, we'll have 3, 5, 6, 2, and then last 2 picks, we just take a late round flyer, tight end, and receiver. And I think there's some good ones there in the early 200s. So,
great. Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Let's get our guys. Slayton. All right. So we have stacked Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Sam Howell, all correlated. So we have 3 quarterbacks since we built them out a little later. I like 3 quarterbacks in general too. I know you like them too. It helps. In my opinion, I don't care what the data says. We are with limited data, and you don't know how the 3 quarterback builds are built. I think 3 quarterback builds that are built in a smart way, that are correlated, can help with advance rate, protecting injuries, and also gives you 3 stack options in the playoffs, which I really like that a lot. So we have all 3 quarterbacks stacked. Love that we're anchored by Nick Chubb and Najee Harris, and 5 running backs, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, Gainwell, and then 6 receivers, 2 tight ends. So yeah, we're just going to grab a receiver and tight end late. So I'm going to get rid of these quarterbacks, and we can start looking at who our favorite flyers will be. Looking at the board, we're in obviously the 16th round now. We just took Slayton. Coming around at picks round 17 and 18, we will have picks 204 and 205, which that's the one benefit. Yeah, when you have that first or second pick early at the turn, you can get more studs early. But here, at least you're not left with like the very end of the draft. So, maybe it's like a Luke Musgrave. We could do our rookie tight end special. So I'll let the board play out a little bit more, but Luke Musgrave went early. Smart people, smart Zabs, whoever went there, like that pick, because we are both very high on Luke Musgrave to massively outperform ADP. And again, maybe this is a good time to talk about this now. We have a little break, and then we can queue up, some guys that we like coming up at these last 2 picks. But the thing with ADP and your rankings and that kind of thing, all that matters at the end of the day is the guy has to outperform where you picked him. It doesn't matter what the ADP was or the ADP value. He has to outperform the ADP that you drafted him at. And so I believe a lot of guys, when I do reach for a guy, in that case, somebody reached for, Musgrave, I absolutely believe he's going to outperform tight end, whatever, and pick 185 or whatever he picked him at. So is that kind of how you look at ADP while we're waiting?
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, to me, it's even more the rank of, wide receiver 40 or wide receiver 50. That's what it boils down to.
Right.
ADP is also a factor, especially when you look more positionally, like tight end versus, that. And especially since we see wide receivers overdrafted on Underdog. But, to me, it's all about getting the guys who are going to perform. Like, if Slayton does what he did last year, he's going to outperform this. And he didn't,
right.
He was inactive week 1 last year. He didn't start until week 6. So it's like one of those things where it's like, if he's starting every week, he should almost be guaranteed to outperform last year.
Right.
Because he finished as just in yards, not necessarily fantasy points, but in receiving yards, he finished like as wide receiver 39 or something in receiving yards. And again, he didn't start until week 6.
So yeah, you can't see that here in this, but like drafting and where we drafted him, where do you think we drafted him at? Wide receiver?
Oh,
what?
60.
Okay. Well, I'm
Something
even
like
looking at like total points and fantasy points. He finished wide receiver 51, and that's just total games, total points. So if we draft him at 60, even if, like you said, he does what he did last year, and that's not accounting for if he gets, more yards, more touchdowns, that kind of stuff. So anyways, we're up in 6 picks. Let's cue some late round flyers.
Oh, yeah, we probably took him like wide receiver 75, just looking at it more.
Oh, okay.
All right. Just so, absolutely getting crushed.
I mean, Terrence Marshall's fine. Corey Davis, I love.
What I would say is, if Robert Woods is still there, we need some safety because we do have 3 week 13 wide receivers. So we need somebody who's going to be out there.
Oh shit! I forgot that we got a 3rd week 13 wide receiver. Okay, so we have 2 week 5s, 3 week 13s. So, okay, yeah, I don't love the upside on Woods, but obviously, like you said, there's some safety. So you'd rather, even though
he's just another guy who's basically guaranteed to outperform this ranking.
Yeah.
Like barring injury, he's out. And Mayer, we have Kincaid, and
thank you.
Week 13 is really bad.
Yeah, week 13 is rough at tight end. I
like Ferguson.
I was just gonna say Ferguson, Woods, or Hunter Henry would be the 3. I'd queue. Anybody else?
Noah Fant's fine for the last round.
Okay. So you want to go Robert Woods?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think we even have any week 7.
No.
Okay. And then wait, who? Oh, Ferguson got taken.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't love the Patriots offense, but I love Henry's potential role. What would you say? I'd go Henry.
I agree. I think Henry is.
Hey, we agreed. I like it.
Undervalued.
You and I agree, honestly, a lot of best ball strategies, a lot of best ball takes, but obviously nobody agrees on everything. So there will be an occasional time where we will not agree on a pick or two, but we definitely were in line there. So, rounding out the draft here. And then I realize what time it is. I need to go for a 3:00 meeting soon, but got just in time. We have a 3, 5, 7, 3. We have Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Sam Howell, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, Kenneth Gainwell, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, Rashad Bateman, Darius Slayton, Robert Woods, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, Hunter Henry. I mean, listen, I know we waited on quarterback, but again, that let us build an incredible foundation of, 4 solid running backs, 5 solid receivers. And then I love our depth guys too. We stacked all 3 of our quarterbacks. And yeah, I just really like I think it's a very, very solidly built team. Yeah, you're going to need, Daniel Jones to perform well. I mean, Sam Howell could provide some spike weeks, especially with his rushing upside. And obviously the most, because we're most heavily invested in Wilson and the Broncos to, perform well. But with Sean Payton as the coach, I'm, bullish on that happening this year. So I really like it overall. Got a lot of my favorite guys. It's missing a lot of like Chargers and Dallas. But other than that, no, I wish we could have gotten a Chargers run back only because I just love the Chargers so much. But other than that, I just think it's a very strongly built team. What are your thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, I mean, very similar. Like I am very, very bullish on Russ and the Broncos. Sean Payton basically is a top 10 offense every year he's coached. So I don't know why that would stop now, especially with all the money they spent on upgrading their offensive line. And, when I was talking to Javonte Williams earlier, this is the type of team you put him on. You have 2 stars in front of him and then 2 safety guys behind him. So, if he does fail, we still should have a good running back room. But if he succeeds, we have an amazing running back room.
Massive upside. Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. So you're happy.
Yeah. I think it's a strong draft.
All right. I am happy too. All right. With that, we're going to head on out of here. Again, if you're new to Underdog, be sure to use code FANSPEAK for 100% deposit bonus. And be sure to check out our articles on fanspeak.com. Cranking them out each and every week, cranking out these live drafts each and every week. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.